Welcome to another TAD Talk where we talk about all things talent acquisition and recruitment marketing. Today I'm joined by Amanda, our Director of Client Service, along with Pankaj Jindal, who is the co-founder of Sense. Pankaj, do you want to give us a quick introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, Amanda, Stacey, thank you both for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Pankaj. I'm one of the founders of Sense, based out of San Francisco. Sense is a talent engagement platform. We started the company about 7.5 years ago with the singular mission of building a platform that allows personalized communication, talent engagement, helps you retain the right people and hire them quickly and at scale. So that's a little bit about Sense. We serve over 1,000 customers today, and we measure our success by how successful we're making our customers, many of whom would report on an average a time to hire decrease by about 33% and an increase in recruiter productivity by 30%. And those are the kind of metrics that keep us going.
That speaks volumes to how automation can help. And last week we had the opportunity to speak about AI and automation and how it can help employers with candidate drop-off. So today we wanted to further that conversation and really dive into the role of generative AI solutions like ChatGPT and Google Bard AI and how it plays a role in recruiting. Any thoughts on how those are kind of coming into play when it relates to the recruiter activity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, there is a lot going on when it comes to AI in the recruiting industry. I mean, some of it may or may not be visible to everybody, but a lot more of the products we see, certainly a lot more of the Sense products, are starting to incorporate generative AI.
Absolutely.
The idea behind that, yeah, I mean, the real idea there is, can we make every single recruiter in an organization the best version of themselves? Or even more importantly, can we mimic the best recruiter in an organization and make sure everybody else looks like that? So I'll give you a couple of practical examples. Like, for instance, you can now type up a short text message. Hey, Amanda, are you looking for a role? And then use generative AI to say, make this message softer, longer, more friendly, more personalized. So essentially the tone of your voice and all the messages that you go out from your company seem way more personalized, way more sophisticated. We've taken this a step further with you can also use that to automatically generate resumes. I mean, if you ever deal with workers that are high volume, manufacturing, trucking, retail, they probably don't have resumes, but they now can like spit out 3 or 4 skill sets, or your recruiter can, and say, these are the 5 things this guy can do or this gal can do, and they suddenly will create a resume of its own. So there is a lot going on with generative AI that I can get much deeper into. And as you mentioned, Stacey, I mean, ChatGPT and Bard, those are a couple of models. There are several other large language models out there. We sort of pride ourselves on the fact that millions of natural language conversations that we're having every single month are with candidates, are recruitment only focused, which means that engines are going to be way more trained than a ChatGPT, which is basically trying to answer everything for everyone.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned that on our call when we did a webinar last week. I think it was great that you guys are taking that initiative to look at things that are not specific to every industry, but really focusing on the recruitment and talent acquisition areas, even the human resources, to make sure that that automation is correct and answering
right.
fluidly for them. When we talk about the benefits of AI and recruitment, there's a lot of them, and you touched on a couple of them, like process automation, job matching, interview scheduling. We see that some recruiters are very hesitant or resistant to this change, maybe a fear of being replaced or being obsolete. How do you address those concerns? What thoughts do you might have around that?
Yeah, lots of different thoughts. I mean, for example, firstly, I don't think the recruiters should think that they're being replaced. I think the idea, at least for the moment with AI, is we're trying to take mundane work out of a recruiter's desk, something that is repetitive, doesn't add value, doesn't lead to hires, doesn't lead to revenue. You just have to do this over and over and over and over again. Can we take that out so you can actually be more productive, potentially make more hires, maybe even make more compensation? So as an example, you would see that there is a stat, and everybody can Google it to find it. It takes 6.7 emails, so almost 7 emails in the US to schedule a meeting. We've all been there. Hey, can you talk on Tuesday? No, Tuesday doesn't work. How's Wednesday? How's 3 o'clock? How's 4 o'clock? You do that using natural language and AI. You just essentially get a scheduler in front of you. You pick a time that works for you. And if you are the one picking the time that works for you, you're more likely to show up. The second,
Absolutely.
the second
Sorry.
idea is, sorry, go ahead.
No, you please.
Yeah, the second idea is, you'll also find a lot of stats around the fact that more than 50% of the people apply for a job after hours. A recruiter is probably not working at that time, but AI can work for you. They can reply to that candidate. They can say, hey, we got your application. Depending on what your organization wants, you can either say, I'll give you a call at 7 a.m. tomorrow, or you can say, hey, because you applied for this job, I have a few pre-screening questions for you right now. Can you answer them? And I can actually direct you to the right person. Candidates love that. People want quick disposition. They quickly want, well, first of all, candidates love the idea that you're not being sent into a black hole. At the very least, somebody's telling them, we got your application, we got your resume, we will be in touch. You can take that a step further by saying, I have a few pre-screening questions to ask you. And based on those questions, you can literally say, these all sound great. I'm going to set you up with a recruiter. People absolutely love that. I mentioned it in the beginning, across the millions of conversations that we see happening every week, people typically leave a 4.8 to 4.9 out of 5 review for an average chatbot. It's very hard to get that for a recruiter, but people love the idea that you talk to somebody, you get an immediate answer, you get an immediate disposition. So I don't think it's something to be afraid of. It's actually here to make your job easy. Now, you certainly could be part of an organization that's not on the leading edge of technology, but you're more of a more of a late adopter, more of a laggard. And if you are one of those companies, there is nothing wrong with it. Just make sure you take baby steps. Do something that basically takes away your biggest pain point, something that is mundane, then do something different, then do something different. And technology allows you to do that until you get to a point where you say, yes, my life is actually better because of this, and I'd rather not do these 4 pieces of work. So I can talk to more candidates, I can talk to more customers, I can talk to more hiring managers.
I mean, so what kind of objections do you hear? Why are organizations, you work with 1,000 organizations right now, and obviously there's hundreds of thousands of organizations. What are the stumbling blocks? Why are people not adopting this more readily if it's helping the recruiters with their productivity?
Yeah, the objections are everything that you would imagine. Hey, this is probably not as personal. It takes the personal touch out of a conversation with a candidate. Not true. Like I just told you, people actually rate these conversations much higher. They're succinct, they're to the point, and they work on candidates' time and not on the recruiter's time. My favorite example to take is of healthcare. Nobody there works a 9 to 5 job. You're in healthcare. Sometimes your break might be at midnight. You can't talk to a recruiter, but you can talk to a chatbot, and within 3 minutes, 30 seconds, you can get to a disposition where you say, okay, we're going to move forward, and now you pick a time and you're going to have a break that you can chat with us. So one is this whole personalized idea, whether it's personalized or not. Second is this idea of, what you touched upon, is it taking my job away? And I'm here to argue and say that the organizations that have adopted chatbots, and we now have hundreds of them, are actually seeing 30 to 80% decrease in time to fill. They're seeing 200% to 250% more job orders that they can fill. And the actual profitability dollars have increased. So it's certainly going to lead to an organization that is more attuned to what the candidates want. And if you are not going to pay attention to the candidates, which is your real sort of cherished product in this entire process, you're probably going to lose to a competitor. So it's our job to educate companies, Stacey, and we do that a lot. Obviously, change is just hard for everybody. And I think one of the other things I would add here is partly the pandemic, precipitated digital transformation for everybody. Some companies were far along in their journey and some were only getting started. But just in one quick second, we were all remote. We could no longer talk to an IT manager whenever we wanted. We couldn't just walk over to our coworker's desk. So you just had to quickly adopt technology. So some people have had to do this much faster, and maybe they're only sort of understanding the benefits now. But we are certainly moving into a generation where man and machine, if that's how you want to call it, are going to work together against the problem.
Oh, I have a question because you mentioned healthcare. We have a large footprint in that space, also with restaurants. Are there specific industries or job roles where you're seeing AI and chatbots working really well and showing value?
That's a great question. I think exactly the two industries that you just mentioned, and potentially add with it anything that's got to do with, light industrial work, manufacturing, picking, packing, warehouse workers. I'll give you an example. We have customers today where they'll send out a text message to 1,000 people end of day on Friday, because Friday morning is when they sort of heard from one of their clients and say, we need 50 workers in a warehouse by Monday. Can you provide me that? Ordinarily, you just have to say, no, it's Friday morning. You can't have these people start on Monday morning. What people do now, they'll push a button, it goes out to 1,000 text messages get sent out. The text message is very simple and pointed. Hey, are you looking for a job? If so, click on a link to give us some more information. You click on that link, a chatbot pops up, and the questions are very straightforward. Are you authorized to work in the US? Have you ever been convicted of a felony? Do you have a driver's license? Can you pick 50 pounds of weight? Can you stand on your feet for 8 hours? Would you subject yourself to a COVID screening? Lastly, will you work for whatever the number is, $21.27 exactly, because that's exactly what I'm going to pay everybody. Yes, 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 yes. You have a job. So the most beautiful use cases, Amanda, of the chatbot would actually let people go from hello to hire in 30 seconds. And then in every other industry, maybe IT, professional, lawyers, financials, accountants, sales and marketing, it can actually help you cut several stages of your recruiting process, because you can ask a bunch of pre-screening questions to go, this is a great candidate, a recruiter should be talking to them tomorrow. So instead of them spending a couple of weeks in finding a recruiter, finding time with them, talking about their experience, they can straight away go to an actual conversation. So either way, it saves you a bunch of time, but in the industries that you mentioned, it just tends to be particularly helpful.
Good information.
Sure
When
thing.
we hear from our clients, I think a lot of times when we're talking about any of this automation, a lot of the stumbling blocks we hear is budget being one of them, and then adding to their tech stack being the other. I think so many people have been burned by having to buy a solution that just really never integrates, and then it just becomes clunky, and then the recruiters don't log into it. They don't use it. It doesn't seem to be of value. So are you guys hearing that, and how are you overcoming that challenge when you're talking?
All the time. I mean, I'll take those questions separately, like you mentioned. The first is the whole budget challenge, right? What we've done with a lot of our customers is we've done very lightweight, small pilots. And we do that just so we can prove the ROI to people. Some of the metrics that I was quoting before are actually from live customers. People will come and report and say, our ROI is 14 times the money we are paying you in the amount of money we are saving. We can do that with a very small group of people. We can also do A/B tests, and we can literally say, let's take 1,000 people who come to your website who don't encounter a chatbot, and then take another 1,000 who encounter a chatbot, and see what their experience is like and how quickly these people get hired versus those. So the good part about this technology is that it is very measurable. You can absolutely measure every single thing. How many people interacted, how many finished talking to the chatbot, how many people dropped off in the middle. So maybe your questions are too complicated. Of the people who finished, how many people moved on to the next step, how many got hired. And you can do that in 2 to 3 months and essentially be convinced that this is a whole new paradigm. On the technology piece itself, the idea of, hey, we're hesitant to add more to our tech stack, integration is an issue, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the one thing I would readily agree with, you should absolutely work with a software provider that integrates with your system of record. That is probably important, and that's why you should talk to your software vendor about that a lot. You don't want tens of thousands of conversations just happening in a vacuum that don't get written back into your candidate record. So that's probably something you should check for. But as far as adding to the tech stack itself is concerned, I know some people get taken aback by AI and automation, but it's a very light lift. We have had people go live in a day because not just a day. Sometimes we'll demo to large customers and we'll actually have them go live before we even demo for them. So when we are demoing, we're literally saying, well, here is your website today. Now imagine it had a chatbot, and boom, just like that, we'll actually show that they have a chatbot on it because we've already done the work. So you could have a website chatbot be up and ready within a day. The integration with your system of record might take more time, but my point is it's a light lift. It's not like you're undertaking a 9-month, 12-month cycle. You have to commit your IT resources. You have to plan for a bunch of things. It's a light lift. It starts working immediately, starts showing results immediately, and then you kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, this is truly a budgeting season. We always walk into August and September and start to budget with our clients, which is the perfect time to have this conversation because we're going to have, talk about automation. Everybody wants to talk about AI and automation,
right.
But you're right. There's a little bit of a fear there. And I don't know if it's a past history that just hasn't worked out well, or if it's just they're not sure which direction they want to take. Do you have any place where they should start, or is it really dependent on each client and the process and the issues that they have of getting candidates on board?
I mean, listen, every customer is going to be different and their measure of success is going to be different, but I don't think it hurts to have a conversation with a software vendor who does this day in and day out. I mean, and I don't mean this to be a sense plug, but of course, we have 1,000 customers, 500 of them have a chatbot. We have a lot of information on how the chatbot serves a lot of different industries. You could be in healthcare, you could be in IT, you could be in education, you could be in sales and marketing, you could be in commercial or retail. We would probably have a number of use cases for you to think through that you maybe haven't thought about. We'd probably have a number of other situations that people sort of ignore. Like sometimes, they don't realize that a chatbot can actually help you reduce bias and might actually help towards your DE&I initiatives, might help you, capture EEOC information better, might actually help you document your conversations better. Like there is also so much that a chatbot can do from a compliance standpoint. Which could be important to some customers. To some customers, speed to hire is more important. To some customers, the idea that we are going to get back to 100% of the people and nobody's ever going to feel like they were sent into a black hole is more important. So, you might have a different KPI, if you will, but I think it's good to have an education conversation. I mean, this is exactly what we're here for. We feel like we're on the leading edge of this. We'll tell you, we'll have you talk to other customers, and you may be ready, you may not be, but I think that would be a good first step.
Yeah, and I think what I like about your platform is we have talked to a lot of our clients about it, but what I like a lot about it is that you don't have to buy the entire solution. There's a lot of times you encounter platforms that they want you to buy the entire suite of services. And this is more of, I need this to solve this problem, and you guys allow for that. And again, do that pilot so they can determine if it's going to work in their environment.
No, absolutely. I've spent my entire career in the HR tech industry. When I was on the other side of the table, when I was buying this software, we always had this fear and trepidation that, hey, this vendor is going to come and say something or the other, but eventually this is going to become a 9-month project. I'm going to commit resources to it, and I don't want to do it right now. And most people live calendar year to calendar year, and they're probably like, I'm not even going to see any ROI this year. God knows when this actually even starts impacting us. And obviously, it's our job to sort of dispel some of those notions and myths, but the world is very different now. Some of these things, like I said, customers come to us and say, I have a big hiring event coming up in 3 weeks, and we can go live for them right before their hiring event. So when they go to a career fair or a campus, they don't have 500 people standing in a line just waiting to submit a resume. They can literally scan a QR code that starts a chatbot. You dump your resume. You're either done and you can walk away in 30 seconds, or maybe the chatbot actually gives you the opportunity to say, we love your resume already. We've used AI to actually read through it, and it matches with what we want. Can you come back at 3 o'clock? Can you come back at 3:30? So, I mean, there is a lot that can happen now, which feels a little bit like magic, but it all starts from, the willingness to have the first conversation.
And I do have one more question. I don't know, Amanda, if you had one, but where are you guys going with it? Are there new products or services on the horizon? I know you guys continue to iterate, but.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have a lot that's coming out, and I missed speaking to your other point, which you mentioned before. The whole intent of our platform is always going to be that every single thing can be used individually. We're never going to come to you and say, hey, it's an all or nothing. You have to buy this big monolith. It has 20 different parts, because that's the part that scares people. If you go, I need a chatbot, we'll be like, great. This is what a chatbot takes to implement. This is what it costs. Let's go. In that same vein, we're landing we've released job matching, which is actually part of our chatbot now. So essentially, when you're talking to somebody, they can literally upload a resume, and our job matching engine will parse through that resume and say, wait a minute, while you're on this session, we found 3 jobs that you're a good fit for. People are absolutely loving this, because one of the things that I think we will both agree with, candidates apply to a job, they don't necessarily know and understand if they are the best fit for the job. Oftentimes they'll apply to a job, they aren't the best fit. The recruiter's basically going to say, sorry, you're not the best fit, good luck, or look at some other jobs. What job matching can do now is essentially say, sorry, you're not the best fit, but we found 3 other jobs that you actually are a fit for. And what do you know? 2 out of those 3 jobs actually pay you more. Would you like me to automatically apply you to these jobs? Which as a candidate, you have no clue about. And as a recruiter in an organization, you're not going to know all the open positions either. So we're simply trying to make, like I said, since his mission was candidate communication and candidate engagement, we've always seen this from the worldview of what makes a candidate experience better, what turbocharges their experience, and anything that does that, I think will eventually be a winner.
Perfect.
I just had one final question. I think we all have opinions and ideas of what will happen to organizations that don't end up adopting AI. But I think you have actual data, obviously, that proves all the positives of it. So what stat, I think, would you end with, and what would you say to those that are not using AI yet?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're not using any form of AI, and I would preface this again by saying that AI is not a word to be afraid of. I mean, AI can act in really small, tiny ways as well. If you're not using any form of it, you're probably already behind. Just knowing what we know of the market and at least 1,000 organizations that we work with, people have adopted some form of AI already. It's either a natural language in a chatbot, it's either a way to do generative AI in text messages or resumes, it's either a way to generate automatic screening questions. So I would say now is the time to sort of dip your toe in the water. Otherwise, you're certainly going to find yourself, being left behind by companies that you forever thought were your peers or your equals, for sure. Also, it should be pretty evident to everybody by now that there is nothing stopping this. There is no such thing as this taking a U-turn. I referenced this a little bit earlier. A lot of times people have worried about man versus machine, like human beings versus automation, and that's really not the battle. It's man and machine versus the problem, and your problem is, can you be faster in talking to your candidates? Can you reduce your time to hire? Can you leave them with the most amazing experience? Can you have them feel like they were always taken care of through the process? Can you feel like even if somebody got rejected or never made it through your organization, that they can still be a reference for you and say, my experience with this company was amazing. Wish I had gotten a job with them. I did not. So as long as you think that this is a friend, you're probably going to do well. And a lot of your peers already think that and are already far ahead. So no time like the present.
We appreciate this. It's always good to catch up with you, Pankaj, and hear what you guys are doing on that side of automation. So we appreciate you joining us, and thank you.
No, thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Amanda. Thanks for having me. Always fun talking to you both.